I think you have to be very optimistic about this move.
I think if you're optimistic because the Bears did the right thing. Even if it flames out in 3-4 years, they did the right thing. They hired Ben Johnson. They took Caleb first overall. Every other team would have done that. Outside of the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Ravens, you're taking Caleb Williams first overall. If you had the choice,
Burrow,
you're getting rid of your quarterback.
Herbert, debatable.
Burrow,
I'm just being an asshole. I'm just being an asshole.
No, I'm just going off top 3 that I can think of off the top of my head. But I mean, realistically, you're taking Caleb and resetting the QB clock. You are. You're getting rid of whoever you had and you're resetting the QB clock because it's the right thing to do. He was the right player to pick. And the same thing with Ben Johnson. He's the right head coach. If any other place had an opening besides, a handful of teams, they're taking Ben Johnson. That's just the way the cookie crumbles at the end of the day sometimes. They did the right thing. If something goes wrong, then, I mean, they only have to blame themselves. I mean, we've seen they've fucked everything up before. It's obviously possible, but they did the right thing.
Oh, yeah. It's very possible. It's actually likely.
It's very likely. We haven't seen
based off history. Based off historical evidence, it's actually likely. And that's why, I know we got a comment saying, oh, this dude's a hater about David. No, it's not that he's a hater.
It's realistic.
It's just realistic. It's just this is what they've shown us.
Everyone lives in La La Land in the offseason with the Bears.
Correct.
Everyone thinks that they win the offseason.
Let's pump the brakes a little bit and you know what I mean? And let's see this thing through.
I suggested that Ben Johnson wanted to coach the Chicago Bears because he broke his neck deploying a fantastic, unique play against the lowly Bears. If they would have had that Stumble-Ruski play available to them last or whatever day the Redskins beat them, I'm sure they would have loved to have that. But they pissed that play away in Chicago, and Ben Johnson wanted to make sure that Bears ownership saw that play was possible. And I think that's why they were so aggressive in getting him, or at least partially.
You can't run that play against Washington because you're down.
Sure you could.
Well, you're down.
Sure you could.
No, they ran that play when they were up 3 scores against us. And that's the right time.
I'll have to check the score on that. But the moral of the story is now it's on film and you can plan against it.
Well, right, and it was specifically towards us. But I believe David told me some interesting details about that, where it was kind of like, David, didn't you say he wanted to not even pretend to fumble, but my fumble and then pick it up or something, or what was it?
He put it on the ground
in his. No. This is where this was my red flag with Ben Johnson was Jared Goff came out after the fact, after that game in the conference and said, well, Ben opened up with that play and asked me, can you actually directionally fumble it? And Jared was like, of course I fucking can't directionally fumble a ball, you idiot. It's a fucking egg-shaped ball. And then he's like, okay, then can you pretend to fumble it? And then it's that's where it's it's literally the gold member thing from Austin Powers. It's quickly save me from myself. Quickly save me from Ben Johnson needs to be. I hope that somebody is powerful enough to stop Ben Johnson from throwing a Roma Dunze touchdown to Darnell Wright. Because he's gonna try. Because he
you just don't want him to be too big of his. You don't want his ego to get too big. That's the thing.
And I mean, the way that we've started the Ben Johnson era, where every 3 teams were trying to literally suck his dick off, it's not a hot start. I mean, it is what it is. It's fine. He's probably. Here's the thing, man. You tell me we got Ben Johnson as offensive coordinator, I'd be I'd be like, dude, we're about to be a top 5 offense. I just have no idea what Ben Johnson
offensive coordinator?
As a head coach.
Oh, I understand. Okay.
Yeah. So
I mean, it definitely says something that he's been doing the play calling from the field, though.
So I heard some interesting things today. And one of the things I heard is, the fact that he took an extra year because he could have went off and gotten a head coaching position last year.
He could have had Jimmy Daniels last year.
He said that extra year really helped him a lot in just thinking and mentally preparing himself about a program as a whole and what the details of that would look like, because he knows he's going to get a head coaching job now. Mm-hmm. So he actually got a year to just sit there and be able to just mentally spend some time preparing for the idea of what it's going to be like. And so, when you do that, you do start to probably pay attention to different details. You probably have some different questions for Dan Campbell and things like that. So I actually found that to be a positive. It's good. Okay. So a lot of guys, with Matt Nagy, you bring up the parallel. Well, he came here and he really acted like an offensive coordinator. That was the problem. So you got to be ready. With Brian Dable. Brian Dable got hired because he was a good play caller in Buffalo, but he came to the Giants. Yeah, but he came to the Giants and said, I know you hired me for play calling, but I'm not calling plays. I got other shit
Yeah.
to do. Once that went downhill, he took play calling back. But I mean, but initially he tried to do the right thing
CEO.
and be a head coach and not
Yeah.
an offensive coordinator. And so that's that. And
Part of-
another good thing I heard was from Rex Ryan, actually. And this was a funny one. Rex Ryan was like, I would hire Ben Johnson over me.
Yeah.
He's like, and I think I'm pretty good. He's like, but I
Thank
think
you.
this guy could be pretty, pretty incredible. So
Carl putting up that comment made me
Yeah.
like kind of go back to don't try to be the smartest guy in the room. And the fact that Tom Brady is pushing so hard for Ben Johnson does
It
give
says
me
something.
a little bit of positive mental state towards that. And then, like, again, what we keep talking about is the biggest hiccups of what's about to happen. Him hiring Darren Rizzi
Fantastic
and potentially Dennis Allen. I'm sorry, what?
That's a great comment, though, Tony Boy.
And OBJ's for
I'm sorry
Brady.
to cut you off. I'm sorry to
Yeah,
cut
he'll
you
have
off.
to have his superstar, multi-million-dollar wife do that for him. Sorry, Tom.
Yeah.
Tom Brady peaked at
Um,
Michigan, by the way, guys. Just so you guys know.
Yeah, no, not those 7 Super Bowls. But like, no, dude, like him hiring Darren Rizzi and Dennis Allen, it is a huge positive. It's definitely a net positive. Like
Yeah.
him being self-aware enough to be like, dude, I need help, and I need 2 NFL head coaches, or at least interim head coaches, to be my offensive or my defensive and special teams coordinators. That
Yep.
shows some humility, that shows some self-awareness, that shows some knowledge. And that shows that, that's why Washington is what Washington is this year, right? It's you've got 3 guys that are responsible for each division of that football, and they can kind of combine forces and pull it off. And Dan Quinn is probably the most experienced guy out there. Like that's the issue with Ben Johnson, is he's not experienced in any fucking way, shape, or form. Like that's
Right.
like that's my question to anybody who's so excited about Ben Johnson. Like if you're a 10 out of 10 excited about Ben Johnson, I'd go like, why? What has he done that makes you so excited over if you heard Todd Monken was hired, right? Like what makes you that much more convinced? So that's my only hesitation. I get it. I know what the arguments are on both sides. I get it. But like
spent the entire year, man. I spent all 2024 saying I hate the word hope. We're right back to it. We are right
It's
back to it in
pure
2025.
pure hope.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Sean McVay was not a head coach prior to his great time so far in Los Angeles, right?
Yeah, but
So-
he's so unique, Carl. Like,
I mean, this guy, again, Ben Johnson saved Dan Campbell. The Lions were not in a good spot. You have whatever her name, Ford, come out and say, essentially, sorry. She did her best George McCaskey impression and said, sorry, we're going to get this right. I don't know who hit Dan Campbell, but he got lucky when he decided to thrust Ben Johnson into that role, and he capitalized. Something else I'm not hearing people talk enough about as far as acquiring Ben Johnson. I feel like Ryan Poles deserves his flowers. Ryan Poles maybe was playing some 4D chess, decided to retain Eberflus knowing that Ben Johnson was not going to be a head coach last cycle. I don't know. I'm just
I
going to
still
throw it
think you
out
get
there.
Jim Harbaugh last cycle, though.
If that's possible, but that boils down to the McCaskies cock blocking with their shitty hire of Kevin Warren, aka the preacher, who has it out for Jim Harbaugh, who's not at Michigan anymore because of that Big Ten scandal bullshit. So
yeah, Nick,
that's
and
what
I
killed
agreed
that
with
off.
you. I agreed with you. We should have had Harbaugh, but then there is that narrative that's like, well, maybe it's not even possible. And the honest thing is Harbaugh has ties to this franchise. He's experienced this before.
Right.
And people usually say, well,
he
that's
was literally their quarterback.
No, he knows why he doesn't want to be here. I'll tell you that, right? So,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but that was definitely, I think, the right way to go. And, Carl, with that being said, the problem is that I think Ryan Poles, his career leash suffered so much this year. I mean, more than I remember for any GM. So if he's playing 4D chess, I mean, he really, really went out on a limb.
But how negative was it actually, though? Because when all is said and done, the hardest thing to get right in sports, again, not football, not baseball, not soccer. The hardest thing to do in sports is to get the quarterback position right. Maybe he's not the smartest guy in the room, but he was smart enough to not be the dumbest. He got the quarterback position right. And at the very least, I think that alone deserves him to get a chance at a second head coach, one that he actually selected. And I hope that they come out tomorrow and they just completely squash any bullshit. I don't want Kevin Warren to preach to us saying, oh, I thank God that I was able to get this done. No, fuck you, guy. Ryan Poles was the mastermind, hopefully, behind this. And moving forward, hopefully they're able to coordinate with Ben Johnson. And let's fix these lines. Let's build inside out, whatever you want to say, right? The Lions have a lot of skill outside of their offensive line as well. Maybe the offensive line is making it look better than it is, but the Bears have the outside, in my opinion, already sorted. If they can draft 1 or 2 offensive linemen, a starter, a developmental guy, and hit in free agency, maybe this offensive line isn't as bad as you guys think it is, and a good caller, a play caller, can actually fix that and rectify some bullshit that we saw this year.
I think the second that Chris Morgan's gone, it'll get better.
What sucks, Nick, was that I'm pretty sure. Sorry, I've got multiple. Okay. I'm pretty sure that I heard that Shane Waldron was the reason they scrapped 2 years of progress under.
Correct.
Oh yeah,
Morgan.
I heard that. Yeah, I heard about
so
that. So
I have to assume that Chris Morgan will not be retained. And for
I
the
hope
optics,
not.
right? We like to talk about the optics. It doesn't matter from Detroit. If you hire the janitor from Detroit and say that he's the offensive line coordinator, we are going to be so gassed up. We're going to go from 0 to 100 because that's, we'll just see that at surface and be like, oh my God, Lions have the best offensive line in the NFL. Now we got their coach too. Everything's going to light on fire at that point. But
I'm watching good playoff football. Sorry, real quick, and just the under talented. Like at the end of the day, almost all offensive linemen are 6'4", 330 pounds. Like it just is what it is. Like, and it's not a physical deficiency. It's a gaps, schemes, positioning type issue. So
chemistry.
When I watch the Bears, and just nobody know, they're just like body, like grab them, body, grab them. Like there's no fucking scheme going on here. So I agree. Like I don't think the offensive line is nearly as bad as again, net positives. I'm reading the comments and people are just think I'm a fucking asshole, like thinking I'm just negative as fuck. Listen to what I'm actually saying. Like Dennis Allen is a huge upgrade. Darren Rizzi, huge upgrade. Ben Johnson, potentially huge upgrade. Like, Carl hates the autistics when he was talking about Shane Waldron. Being autistic.
He's got. I'm losing it. Oh my God, I forgot what he has.
Carl hates
Asperger's. He has Asperger's, which means that he can't read the room essentially, right? So you have that picture of Caleb Williams dejected after whatever the fuck happened on the field. You've got Shane Waldron just sitting there smiling like it's gonna be okay, guy. No.
Yeah, no. I mean, Ben Johnson's like got some tendencies, man. Like I watched some press conferences today. Ben Johnson, like God bless him. Hopefully he works out. Hopefully he's just this schematic genius that can do all this shit that we hope he can do. It's a net positive. It's still going to be a net positive, but yeah, I mean, I think there's minor changes that you're not going to see with Ben Johnson that you would have seen, for example, with like Mike Vrabel, right? Like you're not going to see the whole team get scrapped and like 10 guys get cut that you think that would not get cut. Actually, you're going to see just Ben Johnson build on this.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I haven't heard anyone talk about that, Dave. I think that if you were to hire Mike Vrabel would take this offensive line and say, you guys suck. You may even see like a left tackle, Braxton Jones, get traded because he just wants to cut bait sooner rather than later. And I think there would be a little bit more of a tear it to the studs approach. But Ben Johnson hopefully can take what's here and elevate it. Because again, we're talking about if this doesn't work out, the Bears are really going to have to make some wholesale changes yet again.
The model is there through Kansas City with the head coaches as coordinators. Like you have Andy Reid, you have Spagnuolo, and then you have Dave Taub. I mean, Dave Taub has never been a head coach, but that guy is definitely a damn good special teams coordinator. And you have Spagnuolo, who has head coaching experience taking care of the defense. You have Andy Reid, who's taking care of the offense. So, yeah, the more guys you can put on the staff that do have that experience, I think the better. And at the end of the day, you're not asking Dennis Allen to be a head coach again. You're asking him to be a defensive coordinator, which he did for years, and he's very experienced at that. And so, the coaches don't play the game. The players do, right? So I think that's why I said, like, you don't have to sit there and be the very best head coach. You just have to sit there and be good enough to put the players in positions to where they can be the very best player they can be. You know what I mean? And, it sounds easier than it is, obviously, but I think the issue that I have is, and, I go back and I always think about this because I said this to David right before the season started. I said, look, we have a number 1 overall draft pick quarterback coming into what might be the best position or the best team any number 1 overall pick has ever come into. I go, and regardless of result, I'm going to make sure I don't forget this, because right now I think Ryan Poles has done a decent job to get us to this point. Now you look at the results, like I said, his leash shortened so bad, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what we thought. What matters is the results, because it's a results-based business. So this is great. We can be happy. We can be excited. We got to see it.